Hey guys, Besa Gordon here. So it is time for another episode of Rewind with Besa. Look, I've been giving you guys a lot of interviews lately, and I hope that you've been enjoying every single last one of them. Today, I am joined by the so beautiful Shaina Shepherd to talk about her career in music, what she's been up to lately, what she has coming up next, and also just inspiring that next generation of artists to not be shy about creating their own sound, okay? We're getting into all that and more right after we do this intro.
Hey, Besa. You're amazing.
Thank
You're
you.
So amazing.
So are you. Dude, so, okay.
Okay.
When I saw you performing at Pure Sounds,
Oh.
and then at the end, when you did the growl, I was like, yes! You better freaking growl! She said,
Listen,
best
you gotta keep
freaking
it
moment
guttural.
ever. It doesn't matter how many times that I watched it. I'd be like, dun, dun, dun.
I was just mad.
Why were you mad?
Well, I was mad because I just get mad, you know. I didn't get the part exactly right the way I wanted to. I was like, I just get in my mind like I want perfection when I'm playing that song. But sometimes that's good. You know, I'm just like, it's just real. It's just like a part of the moment. So I'm glad that you felt me.
I felt that.
I'm grateful.
Anytime we replay that part, I'd be like, and maybe that's why I felt it, because you really meant that.
I'm gonna keep it now. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep that energy.
You can feel it, and I just feel like with your music, you're able to feel whatever you were being vulnerable about that day in the studio. So can we talk about, like, going backwards a little bit?
Right.
Shaina Shepherd, before going into the big studios, before going on to like the tours, what inspired you to start doing music? I see that you grew up listening to a lot of gospel, so it definitely makes your sound make a lot of sense.
Right. Gospel kid. PK, basically, you know. I think when I decided to start making music, it was definitely an outlet and it was a private thing for me. I gave up on the idea of being a recording artist by the time I was like 11 or 12, but I went to college to study vocal performance, thinking that I could be a teacher, and then life just changed for me. I ended up having like a really bad breakup, like a crazy relationship brought me to Seattle, and then I gave up on making music by going into like the workforce, and I was working in like nonprofit work and just anybody who works in nonprofits knows that is like your whole life if you do
the whole thing.
Right. And so then I just found I wanted to do something. So I went on Craigslist and I found like a rock band that was looking for people to audition.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a a darn scooting minute.
This is before Craigslist was so creepy. I guess it was always.
You have to. In this day and age, you got to be like, okay, so this was back in 2008.
Right.
This was back in 2006 when Craigslist, you could actually go buy a laptop or a phone on there and not be worried about getting kidnapped and then
it was
being
not
sold.
2008. Oh my God, I'm not that old. Dang. Like it was 2000 and
maybe like 12?
No, like 2015.
So did Craigslist just now get weird?
No, it was weird then. It was always weird. But listen, when you're a girl in a new city and you don't know what to do, and the only thing that made sense at the time, there was no like Facebook Marketplace or nothing like that. There was like social media hadn't had that moment yet. So I was just like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to try this new thing. So I looked at Craigslist. I found an apartment, looked on Craigslist. I found a car, looked on Craigslist, and found a dude. I'm just kidding, not the dude part. just the band.
They're on there too.
But I found a band.
At least they used to be.
No, not that part. But no, I found a band. They were looking for singers, and I came in and auditioned, and I thought it was going to be this big deal. I'm like, oh, I have an audition. I practiced and stuff, and like it was just a whole bunch of guys sitting in a warehouse drinking beer, and I was like, okay. And you know, that became my first project. We had one audition, became practice, and then I kept working with them, and we formed a rock band called Bear Axe, and we did pretty well for a while. Right.
Now, what happened?
The pandemic definitely changed things. At the time, I was very ambitious at the time of when the pandemic stopped us, everything. I was like not focusing on my personal mental health. I was focusing on like being really excited about music and the possibilities of things. We were getting like a lot of attention locally, and then regionally, nationally. We were just starting to get pickups. And that was like a very specific Seattle sound of grunge that we were making. So I was like, word, let's get in this business thing. However, at the same time, my guys, my friends in that band, some of them were going through personal challenges. And I think the pandemic just like really made it super hyper focused on everybody's just what they were really struggling with.
Yeah.
Me, I was struggling with my ego for sure. One of our guys was just dealing with stuff at home. Another guy was dealing with stuff with what he wanted to do. He was having like an existential crisis. And so I made the decision to be like, you guys, let's just pause this. We don't know. Maybe the pandemic will end tomorrow. Who knows? It was just like such a weird time. And at the same time, I was just like so focused on keeping up with music because I had finally found my thing. I finally found something that gave me joy after all of these years of feeling like I didn't know what I wanted to do or who I wanted to be. Music was like it. So I was like, I'm going to keep on writing and I'm going to keep on working independently. And over this time, I mean, we've gotten back into a great place, me and my bandmates in Barracks. Who knows, we might start up again one day. But it's just been the past 2 years that I've been like, let me try to see what it looks like to be a solo artist and what is it like to make music in a non-collaborative environment and just do it myself. And I've loved it. I've loved all of the spaces I've been able to learn in and all the people I've been able to meet. And I love just being able to make what I want to make too.
Yeah. Without having to like be like, hey, what do you guys think of this?
Right.
It's like, no, this is just what I'm feeling right now.
I mean, it's hard being a girl too. It's like you're the girl in the group and it's like, no, there's no shade or nothing, but it's like, it's just the world. It's like, hey, Kay, well, I think I have an idea. So let me make sure I bring some cupcakes and prepare everybody. I'm like, now I'm over, right.
You're better than me.
So over
But you know what?
now.
I'm not even going to front. There was a point in my life where I definitely was like that, to where it's like, oh, I'm the girl, or, you know,
Right.
or even like when you get a new job, you're like, I'm the newbie. Let me like be a little more cotton candy about my approach. Now I'm like, look here, let me tell you something.
Let me tell you something. But the world
Let me tell you
changed quick. I feel like I mean, you know, I'm 30 years old. I feel like when I was coming up, the time when I was like 19, 20, there was no women that looked like me that had their own voice out there like that. There was always like a team or a brand or a vibe or something specific, and there was always a sense of competition that was happening. So I never thought like that's the kind of environment for me. And I feel like now there is more space for, you know, women of color that are not necessarily fitting a specific mold. People are now looking at us to say, what are you thinking about? What are you looking at? Like that is not
changed, because you are right. Like there definitely was a point when, you know, a lot of women that looked like us really weren't in the room. We weren't being asked to be in certain spaces. Like our opinions were kind of like, oh, okay, that's cute. You know what I mean? It like almost didn't really matter what we said, but it somehow came off quote unquote angry or combative. And it's like, no, child, like I literally just said what you just said 2 seconds ago. But now it's like not.
They love to play parrot. Play parrot. You know what? I just had a great idea.
And I am the best person to do that, because let me tell you something. I done read 48 Laws of Power 3 times, maybe even 4.
She's a boss.
And I've read Art of Seduction and the whole look, let me tell you something. I didn't get here by just going through the motions. I read some books and I started moving up in this company because I feel like I'm the one to play with.
Hallelujah.
Yes. And I don't even have to get my hands dirty.
Yes. You're like, sorry, the manicure.
I'm gonna let you drop the hot dog sauce on your own dip shirt.
You got mustard on you, Bill. Let's go.
A little coleslaw. But it be like, they used to be like that. Nowadays, I'm just like, no. But do you feel like this is something that happened, or at least started happening before COVID or after COVID? Because when I talked to, do you know Amanda Morgan? So Amanda Morgan is the first Black female lead soloist for the Pacific Northwest Ballet.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, interviewed her last week. And, she was talking about how
Iconic.
after the pandemic and after all of the protests, that's when they started having more inclusion, or she started seeing more people of color and just different types being added into the P&B. And I was like, well, do you feel like this would have happened without everything that was going on, or did you feel like that was necessary? And she said she felt it was necessary.
Right. I completely agree with her. I completely agree with that. I don't think that would have happened if, the world changes. It's like all not one thing. It's like everything is a circular cycle. The role of the dice just so happened that the world decided to include more people's voices and perspectives because everybody felt icky and gross with the way things were.
Yeah.
And if that hadn't happened, the protests, I don't think that anybody would have wanted me to do anything other than park and bark for the rest of my life.
It's almost as if that was the first time when everyone felt the same in one moment.
That was nice.
I feel like those 2 years, we all were linked together in some weird way. It didn't matter if you were in America, China, or Canada. We just all felt stuck. And then we were all seeing the same videos. So yeah, that would make sense.
Right.
That would make a lot of sense.
It was nice to be a person of color. Wasn't that kind of nice to have that kind of unity for a second, that empathy?
Yeah, it was.
But for a lot of white people, they didn't like the way it felt. So I think that changes things with time.
Join us this holiday season at the Fifth Avenue Theater and feel the power of love overflowing with The Wiz. Filled with soaring soul and R&B songs, it's an effervescent explosion of music, dance, and magic your whole family will love. Ease on down the yellow brick road with Dorothy as she learns home isn't really where you live, it's who you love. The Wiz at the Fifth Avenue Theater, November 19th through December 23rd. Tickets at fifthavenue.org.
Changing gears, when you finally went solo, did you feel like you started learning a different part of Shaina?
Oh, yeah. It was like this commitment to this is who I am, and I'm going to share my true self with people. There was so much masking that that change that we were talking about before between the pandemic and now, and being able to have a clear voice in this kind of world versus before. I felt like I was learning how to survive my whole life around white people. No hate to my parents in my life. I had a beautiful, loving family and everything. It's just the world was designed, if you were, a black or alternative kid, growing up in a mostly white school, you're just in constant, socioeconomical survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
And when I became an adult, I was gravitating towards spaces that replicated that. I would be working in nonprofits that were supporting mostly art stuff because that's my true passion, but also not serving communities that look like me or come from the same home backgrounds that I did. And I always felt weird about that. And I always felt like I wasn't necessarily at my final end point. I feel like even in music, being in Seattle, making music in Seattle, it's a very white town too. And so the things that I love, the things that have come into my life are rock and roll music, kicking it with whatever they look like, but not necessarily spaces where I can celebrate this very unique part of myself, which is so integral to the way I grew up in my home and in myself and in my body, which is that I am black and feminine and have always gravitated towards things that celebrate black femininity in a point of privacy for myself, to always have that for myself. So that was never getting shared with the people in my life other than the people that really, really knew me. So when I went solo, it was an opportunity to be I have to write a song. It's my job now. It's my job. It has to be true. It has to be honest. It has to be something I can stand on with the lights on or off. And that was
a big thing, with the lights on or off. It's one thing. I don't know, for me, sometimes with the lights out, that's when things can be a little darker for me, because that's when it's that shadow side that they talk about that you really have to deal with.
I love my shadow side.
My shadow side is a lot, man.
Yeah, I feel you. She can't, we can't let her own, take the reins. But I like hanging out with her sometimes because she sees things that I can't always see in my light, you know? She still has every piece of perception that I have, and she can see it from points of pain that are never going to go away even as I heal.
Mm.
So it's cool. And I just, I like writing from that side. And it's like a nice point to share with people, like, yeah, I work hard and I'm sunshiny and optimistic and I'll be your auntie if you need me to be, even though I'm like way younger than you. But at the same time, this is what I really think and this is how I'm seeing the world right now. And I feel really grateful to have that opportunity to share with people.
I love that. Now, tell me this. How did you learn how to play piano? Like,
YouTube.
Who taught? Shut up!
YouTube is great.
What?
I love YouTube. Yes. I mean, I've definitely gotten better than I was when I started. Oh my God. When I started, I was just like barely being able to play like Kumbaya, My Lord, or like, I mean, I was like in college to study music and I couldn't pass the piano test. I just was so intimidated by the instrument because you just being surrounded.
It's a lot of buttons.
Right, it's a lot of buttons. At church, everybody was slaying at church. You know how that is.
Yeah.
Those guys are monsters playing.
Yeah.
And then like in school, people were just like hanging out with Chopin and stuff on the keys. So I was like, yeah, that's not me. I'm just going to be a good singer,
Yeah.
And then the pandemic happened and I couldn't make any music at all, but I had like a keyboard in my house, so I just kept practicing on it every day for like 3 years.
Now, what's also dope about that is one of your inspirations is Nina Simone. Mm-hmm. And she also played piano, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like she did.
I think I heard that once or twice. Yeah.
I feel like I've seen...
Nina Simone is like one of the most virtuosic piano players of her time.
Yeah, I feel like I saw her doing that in the documentary. Like, I first learned about her when I was just doing like a bunch of like documentaries on like Netflix, and then I found her on Netflix, and I was like, I like her. I like her.
She was crazy though, and
she
was
a little crazy, but
I love it.
She was herself, unapologetic. Like, she didn't care. You know what I mean?
Right.
What was the first thing that made you fall in love with Nina Simone?
I listened to Sinner Man, her song Sinner Man. And it was like a gospel song, but it's like a secular gospel song. But it kind of made its way into my house somehow, very religious house. And then one day I found the Jeff Buckley record, and I heard him do a version of her song Lilac Wine. I found it in the library when I was growing up. And then somebody told me at church, like, that's not even his song. It's actually Nina Simone's song. And then I listened to her version, and I was like, word, that was one of the first songs I ever learned on the piano.
I love it. Now, okay, I know that you went on tour, I want to say last year, but you're still on tour right now, and you're like finishing up your tour tomorrow. Tomorrow's your last show?
I feel like I'm done. I mean, I'm home now.
Yeah,
tomorrow's my last show.
You're like, I'm going to be relaxed for a little bit.
It's going to be the stretch. Like, well, no, there's no relaxing, but I mean, I'll take a day off or something. But yeah, I'm done with being on the road. And that was a long one, but it was really fun.
What would you say that you learned differently about this tour than your last tour with the band?
So very much. Number one, it is very uneconomical to be an artist without a label. I learned that. It is so important to build really great relationships with people all over the world, if that's your calling. It is my calling to do that. If it wasn't my calling, I wouldn't be touring. Because I think it's important to, instead of being like, hey, listen, look at this, look at me, to be like, hey, I would love to share this with you in your community. Would you like to have a space where we can share stories together?
Yeah.
And finding those people that really connect with you and really vibe with what you're doing. And more importantly, that you vibe with them to bring your stuff to them. That's the important part of going on a tour. And I think the first time I went out, I did it like solely independently funded. We raised thousands of dollars. We raised so much money to bring a show to like South by Southwest and like a lot of major festivals. And then a lot of stops in between. And that show was great, but it was a show and not necessarily like who I am as an artist. It's who I am as a business person. And so I think that this time going on the road with just my piano and joining a bill with a really respected artist, songwriter, and being like, hey, I would like to share with you guys my songs. I want to be here because I love this guy's music. and I love these artist spaces that you guys have created, and I'd love you to hear my songs, and it's just that chill.
Yeah.
And I had a great time. I learned so much. I came home in the green, and it was really wonderful and an opportunity for me to like learn what it feels like for people to just hear me out when they don't have any idea who I am in some places. And then the places where they did know who I was, the love and the gratitude that I felt, it's just, there was nothing like it.
There has to be, like, I've always wondered, like, you know, you watch concerts or even go to concerts. Like when I was at the Lizzo concert and I saw everyone singing her music, and I'm like, what does that feel like to be on stage and know that you went in the booth, poured out your heart, and just probably even cried while you were in the booth, and then you look out in the audience and people are singing your music? Like, what does that feel like?
It is so whole. It feels whole. It's like all of that work was not just for you. It's like, oh, I did this for somebody that I love who I don't know. And I mean, I'm just like that. I can follow people I don't know all the time. I mean, we all do.
Yeah.
Follow people we don't know. And it's just like, thank you. It just feels like I feel so grateful that people took their time to share their hearts with me in that moment, listening to the record, that it was all worth it for that moment.
Now, okay, so you ended up, or who was it? There was someone that said, I wrote it down somewhere. Maybe I didn't write it down anywhere. I seen something where they called you like the queen of, oh, wait a minute.
Oh. I like where this is going.
It was like soul grunge or something like that.
Oh, God.
It's like queen of soul grunge.
Soul grunge.
Yeah, like, and
I'm
it's
into
not
it.
the first time that I've like Googled your name and I've seen someone say like soul grunge.
Yo, people love to tell you who you are.
And I'm
don't
like, what? I'm like, what does that mean? So like, if somebody were to be like, oh my God, this is the queen of soul grunge, like, what would that mean to you? Like, does that even make sense to you as like what your style is? Just because I feel like people will give you labels. Sometimes you're like, oh, maybe I don't even want this. I don't even want a title. You know what I mean? I just want to do.
Is soul grunge even a thing yet? I don't know. But I definitely, if that's a thing, I'll take it. I love that. There's there's this artist Tate who's like amazing. I call them the queen of soul grunge. But I mean, also Liv is so amazing. Liv Thomas. Incredible. There's a lot of Black women making rock and roll music, like there always has been.
Yeah.
And it's just like people get distracted with like, people love to distract you from the fact that Black women have always been making rock and roll music. It's actually not that crazy of a transition to go from singing in a gospel choir at church to playing with live musicians and live artists, and then start integrating like angry rock and roll sounds and then tell your story. It's a great idea for anybody who's listening to this.
It sounds like therapy to me.
It is. It surely is. But I mean, yeah, I definitely would consider myself a rock and roll artist, and I would also consider myself a soul artist. So let's go.
And you know, like, and I remember I was telling you, I think I was talking to you about this at Pure Sounds, but I just feel like Seattle doesn't really have a sound, and it's like full of a lot of artists that, yeah, like everyone creates their own.
It's like a Pinterest of like, right. It's like everybody's making their own vibe. It's like that individuality.
Yeah.
Which is like, oh my gosh. What I don't love is like the energy of like, oh, that's individualistic, that's special and unique, let's brand it. I don't love that, because I feel like that's when we get into a point where we start limiting what people can do. Like in Los Angeles, I mean, I just was traveling. LA, New York, Chicago, Texas, they don't do that. They allow people to continue to grow with their artistry. And a lot of those places also like expect you to grow, to change, to keep listening to things, to keep, just get bigger, get better, get harder. And it doesn't always have to be bigger, better, harder, but whatever growth looks like in Seattle, it would be great to have people focus on that, because nobody wants to make the same record over and over and over again.
No, facts.
At least if they're good at it, they're going to want to do some other stuff.
I wonder if people do that because people are always saying, or at least I'm always hearing someone say, Seattle doesn't have its own sound. Seattle doesn't have its own sound. And so I feel like sometimes when people find one that they really like, they want to brand it. But I kind of feel like Seattle isn't supposed to have its own sound.
Mhm.
Like, this is one of those
Right.
cities where, from what I've heard, you know, back in the day, a lot of black people came up here from down south to start over. And even to this day, people come here to start over. And then you have all these people coming here from all over the country and all over the world because they have tech jobs and things like that.
Right.
So it ends up just being like a big melting pot here. You know what I
Right.
mean? To where it's like, how can we have our own sound when a lot of the people that are here aren't even from here?
Well, the thing is, a lot of people that are coming into Seattle, they want live music, but Seattle isn't really great at unifying around live music. But it's on its way. I think that back in the 90s, during the grunge movement, that there was like this huge push for that. And it was incredible. It was exceptional the way that they unified around what was happening in the clubs, which was really a Seattle sound because everybody was rocking in the clubs, making music. There were a lot of other genres that were left out of that movement but never stopped continuing to make art and make music. I mean, there's like an amazing live this place is a hub for live musicians. Like, there are incredible live artists here that make like great stuff on stage and aren't they're not encumbered by like their references based on the brand. They're making references based on the records that they listen to because it's such an introverted city. People are listening to different stuff all the time, and then they're making a lot of stuff that people in other places would brand as fusion. But it's like incredible. Then you take that and you put it with some really amazing lyrics, great poetry, and you get Seattle sound, I feel like.
Yeah.
Which is not labeled.
We have some amazing poets out here, man.
Right. I think it's the clouds.
I was about to say, I feel like it's the weather, man.
Right. That's what I say. It's like pulling out everybody's Sylvia Plath, honey.
Yes, like, and then like, you know, especially if you live in the city, a lot of people just sit and look out their windows. All you do is just kind of walk around out here and just look around. At least I do. Like, I'm always, well, I also smoke a lot of weed, but I'm like,
That's also Seattle tradition.
I'm always just kind of looking around and thinking about different stuff. So yeah, you know, I definitely have found some of my poetry books from when I was in like 5th grade and 6th grade.
What are you writing about in 5th grade? You tell me right now.
I actually had a poem called I Am, and I talked about how I was the daughter, and I put like my mom's full name, my dad's full name, and you know, I wrote about what I'm about and what I think about and, you know, how I see myself. I actually read it and one time started crying. Like, I don't know where that came from.
Oh my God.
And I was only in 5th grade, but it's a very, very deep poem.
Yo, you have a well in you. Yes,
I was
Miss
like,
Besa Gordon.
I was like, where did this come from?
Yes.
So, yeah, no, absolutely agree with that.
A world of wonder awaits at Pacific Northwest Ballet's The Nutcracker. Treat your loved ones to the Northwest's favorite holiday tradition at Seattle Center's McCall Hall. Tickets start at $27. Visit pnb.org.
Okay, so we're going to do something I like to call 9 Randoms with Besa.
Okay.
But before then, or actually, you know what? We can end with that little part. Number 1. What is your favorite local spot to eat at?
Farm Boy Bites.
Ooh, what's that?
It's a burger pop-up in White Center.
Okay.
It's the best burger in town, by far.
So you do eat meat?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, okay, well then shoot, let me ask you this question then also. This might not even be a part of the 6 randoms, but FDA recently approved lab-made meat for human consumption.
Why?
They're saying that at some point it'll make it to where we don't actually have to eat animals. So my assumption is that we're running out of food and we're running out of animals because they've obviously been working on this for a minute.
They've been working on these animals for a while. These animals are giving up.
They're like, I don't care if you guys are hungry. We are out of here.
We're out. We're
out. We're leaving you alone. Matter of fact, we're jumping on the ship to Mars with Elon Musk and everybody else.
We're going to Mars. Make your own bacon. I feel
Grow your own corn at this point. So, okay, would you try it? Like, are you down to try like the lab meat? Or I asked Nate Jackson this. He was like, we probably have already been eating it. Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Like, we probably already been eating it. Impossible meat, isn't that what that is?
Yeah, but see, then I feel like, okay, if Impossible meat is lab meat, then why does the lab meat need to be FDA approved? Because then it could just be vegan food.
Well, because the FDA just wants to do everything so that they can get their piece. Sorry.
I just feel like it's a whole lot of extra. I'm like, if you're going to make the meat in the lab, there's also a thing called meat glue.
What is that? What is that?
So
What does that do?
So basically, have you ever picked up like chicken breasts, right? And it'll be like may contain.
This is why I don't go to Walmart. This is why I don't do. No. The answer to your question is no. I'm not eating meat glue. I am not eating.
But you wouldn't even know.
Moon meat. I'm not.
You wouldn't even
okay,
know.
if I don't know what it is, then I'm going to.
So say you have like a piece of chicken. They'll like take chicken and put it together with meat glue to make like a new piece of chicken. What are you talking about?
Why? No. What is that?
They do it. I see it.
That's poor people stuff. I
see it on YouTube. They were like, you can't actually even tell the difference. And sometimes you're buying it because sometimes you'll actually see on packages where it says may contain some.
Who said I can't tell the difference? Was that on the package too? She said, you won't even know. I said, let me try it.
I don't know if I've tried it, but apparently it tastes the same. They made some meat glue. It was like a.
I hate that. I hate that word.
They call it meat because that's how they stick the meat together.
That's like, what would my grandma call it? She would call it a binder.
Oh my God.
She said put some flour in it. Some milk in the eggs. Stretch it out, I guess.
But yeah, no, they're saying like they be picking pieces.
I'm out. I'm out. I mean, I did just go to the grocery store and I saw like my bacon that I always get was $15 a pound. Right. Then I thought about, should I be a vegan? And then I just paid $15.
And then you look at the price of broccoli and it's not that much.
Right. It's the same. It's the same.
Okay. So we're going to do our best to stay away from the meat glue. And
I hate that word. What is that phrase, meat glue? There's nothing good about that. Sounds like a rock band in Seattle. That's a rock band in Seattle.
Dude, sure. When you leave, go on YouTube and type in meat glue.
I'm going to. No, I'm not. Actually, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go and get me a Burger King. No, I'm going to Farm Boy.
Oh, my goodness. Well, shoot. You know, they said that's like, what, horse meat or something is what Nate said if you go to like Burger.
That's. Okay.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, our food is jacked up. Anywho, back to 6 Randoms with Besa. So hey Portland, Besa Gordon here. Look, I want to thank you all for the amazing time you showed me, Curtis Delgado, and Proof when we came out for Trap Kitchen Weekend. Not only were the performances by Jay Worthy, G Perico, Asia, Northside Tigo, Savvy, and the legendary Cool Nuts a total vibe. Actually a schmoodood, if I must say. But look, the food. Can we talk about the food at Trap Kitchen? I definitely got my baller box, and honestly, you guys, kicking myself in the butt right now for not taking one home. Check out this video recap of what you missed and head on over to our link in bio to find out why Trap Kitchen Weekend made me fall back in love with music again. What is one venue that you haven't played at locally that you want to?
Ooh. You know what's crazy? I might have played every venue that's open in Seattle.
Oh, what about Tacoma?
Oh, I mean, there's a lot. I played Alma. I loved Alma.
Alma's
Jazz
super pretty.
Bones, iconic. Played there. I liked Jazz Bones. I also played. I can't remember the name of that bar. Just man, I don't know. I don't know enough. Where should I play in Tacoma? I was at the Spanish Ballroom. That was beautiful.
So you know what sucks about Tacoma? They have a lot of great things. I just don't go out there enough to know enough about it. But like when I do go out there and I hear things about it, I'm like, damn, I gotta explore a little bit more.
Right, I feel you. That's how I always feel too. I don't know. I love Tacoma though. Like 6th Ave. I rock with 6th Ave. I rock with South Tacoma. You know, like it's just the venues down there are so spaced out.
Yeah.
You know, it's like different than being in town where you're like, oh, it's like a city with like restaurants and bars and lots of people. Everybody's like in their car going.
Like you actually have to drive out there.
Right. Well, no, you have to. You have to drive when you're there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
What is Shaina's love language?
Ooh, words of affirmation.
Ooh.
That's my word.
I like that. Okay, if you could say anything to your 7-year-old self, what would it be?
Oh, you're enough just like this as a child.
I love that. And then lastly, one misconception of Shaina Shepherd.
That I am a diva.
Where's that? Well, I mean, I guess I could see that if I didn't know. I don't know. Where does that come from?
Yeah, I feel like I'm nice. People assume that I'm not gonna be warm,
or
inviting, and they're or like they think that I'm gonna be, like a dragon or something.
Really?
I get that a lot. Like you get that thing where somebody shakes your hand and they're like expecting something from you.
Yeah.
And then you see their eyes change when they're like, wait, you're not what I thought.
Like, no, I'm just a normal person.
I'm
it's
just
okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna bite your head off.
I'm just boring, actually. Like I just like to read.
Wow.
And like watch really bad reality TV by myself and drink wine. Like,
what's your reality TV guilty pleasure?
I can't tell you that. It's bad. It's guilty.
That sounds like it's on Zeus Network.
No, not anymore. Not anymore. Okay, I did try that because I wanted to buy black. So I tried Zeus Network, and then I watched Jocelyn's Cabaret. Ooh. One season of it, and then I came out 2, and I was like, I feel terrible. That was such negative energy in that. So I was like, but I have been watching Love and Hip Hop Atlanta.
I haven't watched that in a minute, but I heard that this season was pretty good.
Oh, I don't know. I'm watching reruns right now.
Oh, well.
We'll see.
That's fair. All right. Well, shoot, Shaina, your show's tomorrow. By the time that people see this, you will have already had your show. So hopefully you guys went to the show. Alrighty.
I can feel you buying tickets right now.
I feel you clicking on Neptune.com, getting ready to pull up. All right. In the meantime, between time, anything coming up next that you want to share?
Well, next I'm home and I'm so excited to just be creating. I'm putting out my first debut full-length album this spring. Have some music videos coming out too, and it's just gonna be great to get to work putting everything together. I hope people like it. I hope people get what I'm trying to say, and you know, I really focused on being less focused on being an individual and just doing something that people have never seen before, and more focused on making music that feels like myself and feels like my heart. And what came out is, I think, something people haven't really seen before. So it's going to be kind of, I'm excited to see how it's perceived. But I'm really proud of the work that we've done. Really, really proud, really honored to get to do this, live this life.
Well, shoot, I'm proud of you, and I'm also proud that you're literally giving people another version of yourself on your first album. So I cannot wait till that drops. In the meantime, I want to thank you for pulling up to iHeart, even though it was snowing a little bit the other day.
I'm mad.
So you took a chance coming down here, but I appreciate you. Now, you guys, until let me get the right screen up here. I be messing up, child, on my sign outs lately, but it's okay. All right, we friends. We're friends. So anywho, you guys, that is it for today's episode of Rewind with Besa. Of course, until the next episode, I want you guys to have an amazing rest of your day. And of course, keep that energy high.